Now, with this module, we start Chapter 2. And Chapter 2 is about typical enterprise IT architecture and the security overlay. And this discusses this entire chapter and all the modules in this chapter. We'll talk about what the IT architecture of an organization is typically like, and then how do you play security as a layer on top of that IT architecture. So the question is, what does a typical enterprise IT network actually look like in the real world? Now, in this diagram, we see a pictorial view of a typical enterprise IT network, and let's just quickly walk through and see that how it is structured. We start off with the internet service provider, and to connect with the ISP, which provides the bandwidth circuits or the internet circuits, we have a router, which is called the edge router. And then immediately connected to that is the next generation firewall, which is the first step of defense in the IT network and IT architecture. Now, the Dmz Demilitarized Zone is connected to the next generation firewall, and it has three types of devices usually. It has a web server to host the applications to the outside, to the public world. And then it has a web security gateway and email anti-spam gateway. And then just below the next generation firewall, we have an IPS, intrusion prevention system, and then the network DLP or data loss prevention solution. Below that, we come to a distribution switch, which connects below it to the data center switch, in which there is a very important element, which is the firewall for the data center. And within the data center, you have the servers, which are all over there. And then going back to the distribution switch, we connect to the access switch on the left, and eventually that connects all the systems or the users. Now, above on the left of the diagram, what you see is that there's a regional office, which is connected through a UTM or a Unified Threat Management device, which is connected to a central router or device, which is used also to connect to a wide area network or extranet and DR facility. So this is the overall structure. And then we have some tools which are shown. For example, there's a network admission control setup, which is used for authenticating systems which are going to access the network. And for implementing necessary controls, we have a security information event management system, a vulnerability management system, and usually an NMS or a SOC. So let's just walk through again each of these devices and just briefly talk about the features. So an edge router connects to the ISP, and it provides the WAN interfaces. It also will provision, the router has enough interfaces to connect to as many internet circuits as we require. And it provides some security features in the edge router as well. The NGN firewall is the first layer of defense, and it implements some access lists so that we can allow and block certain traffic. And it has certain built-in features, which we will talk about, that provide security facilities and features to the organization. The DMZ or Demilitarized Zone is neither inside or neither fully outside. That's why it's called the DMZ. It's right in the middle. And it's used for placing those servers and devices which are going to have a lot of communication with the outside world. So it's a security zone in which there's a web security gateway and usually a proxy. The application security firewall would be found here. Web servers for publishing the portals are placed here. And then you have an email anti-spam gateway, which talks to the outside world. And then we talked about the IPS, which is just below the firewall. And by the way, the IPS should be placed below the firewall, not on top of the firewall. In our diagram, it's below the firewall, and we would have a network DLP, a network data loss prevention solution, which would identify all the data which is leaving the network, and we will be able to find out what data is being leaked in an unauthorized way. Which people are stealing data and maybe sending it outside the organization, which is not authorized. And then there's a distribution switch. Moving on, a data center switch, and the data center has to conduct filtering and has to have a firewall. Similar like we had an edge firewall, there must be a data center firewall. And then there's an access switch, which connects all the users in the organization, and it implements a lot of security features as well. There's a security operations center consisting of security information event management system for logging and monitoring, a vulnerability management tool, other security operation tools, system AVs or an antivirus, a unified threat management device to connect to the extranet or to connect to intranets or to connect regions or to connect other remote sites. And then other tools like mobile device management, for example, which is software to manage the security of mobile devices, tablets. And then there may be other tools like two-factor authentication solutions, for example. Thank you.